My sister still thinks I ruined her life. What she doesn't know is that she was already halfway through destroying herself long before I ever opened my mouth. All I did was stop covering for her. Looking back now, I can see all the warning signs that our family would eventually explode over money. At the time, it just felt like life. A tired, middle-class family in a small American town trying to get through the month without the car breaking down or the water heater dying. I'm the older one, my name Daniel, but most people call me Dan. My sister Emma is 3 years younger. If you asked anyone who knew us growing up, they'd probably say something like, "Oh, Dan, responsible, quiet, steady." And about Emma, free spirit, charming, bit impulsive. That's the polite way of putting it. I was the kid who did homework at the kitchen table without being asked. She was the kid who could talk her way out of a failing grade by crying in the hallway and promising to do better. I followed rules. She followed vibes. Our parents, Mom and Dad, weren't bad people, just uneven. Mom was warm but anxious, always worried about money, about the future, about what people thought. Dad was calm, borderline passive, the guy who would work overtime for a new fridge, but then shrug when Emma borrowed $200 for concert tickets and never paid it back. If I forgot to fill the gas tank after using the car, it was a lecture about responsibility. If Emma drove the car with the gas light on and almost stalled on the highway, it was, "Sweetheart, please be more careful, okay? You scared me." You get used to it, or you think you do. The turning point wasn't obvious when it happened. Mom died first, breast cancer. I was 24, Emma was 21. It was fast, too fast. One autumn she was just tired all the time, and by the next summer I was helping Dad choose a coffin in a funeral home that smelled like old flowers and air freshener. Money came up quietly in those weeks after the funeral. There was the insurance payout from Mom's policy, small but helpful. There was the house, paid off except for a small line of credit. There were Dad's retirement accounts, modest but something. And there was the will, capital T, capital W, that nobody really wanted to talk about. I remember sitting at the dining room table after the funeral, the food from the reception still on the counter. Potato salad sweating in plastic bowls, trays of cold fried chicken. People had finally gone home. It was just me, Dad, and a bottle of cheap bourbon he'd pulled from somewhere. He poured himself a glass, then looked at me over the rim. "I updated some things," he said. "I was too tired to care, okay. If anything happens to me, I want it easy for you and Emma. No fighting, no confusion." "We're not going to fight," I said automatically. "We're fine." He held my eyes like he was trying to see through me. Grief changes people, and money makes grief louder. He didn't explain what he meant by updated. And honestly, I didn't ask. Part of me didn't want to know. Mom had just died. The last thing I wanted to do was talk about what happened when Dad followed her. But I remembered that conversation later, very clearly. After Mom died, everything shifted a little, like furniture after someone drags the couch to a different wall. Dad became softer with Emma, even more than before. She'd always been his little girl, but now she was his fragile little girl, the one he had to take care of. Emma played into it. I don't think she did it consciously at first. She was genuinely devastated. They'd been close in a way Mom and I never were. They watched the same trashy reality shows, gossiped about celebrities, shared clothes sometimes. I was the outsider even in my own family, more comfortable with a book than with whatever drama was happening on TV. But grief hit us differently. I started working more. I picked up extra shifts, did everything I could to keep my mind busy. I bought a used car with my savings so I wouldn't have to keep borrowing Dad's. I stayed over a lot doing laundry, mowing the lawn, fixing small things around the house. Emma drifted. She dropped out of community college for a semester to get her head straight, then never went back. She bounced between part-time jobs that she quit when they got toxic. She spiraled into online shopping and self-care splurges that somehow always ended up getting quietly absorbed into Dad's credit card. "You know he can't keep doing this," I told her once, standing in the driveway while she smoked and scrolled her phone. She rolled her eyes. "Chill, Dan, I'll pay him back when I'm stable." "You've said that for 2 years. She gave me this wounded look. "Mom just died like a minute ago, in case you forgot. I'm coping." This was almost 3 years after the funeral. I remember the way the smoke curled up from her cigarette, how the setting sun turned the sky pink behind her. I remember the bitter taste in my mouth when I realized that in her world, consequences were optional. And Dad, he enabled it. Emma's figuring herself out, he'd say if I pushed. You were always the stable one, different kids, different paths. Right, different paths, different rules. Fast forward a few years. I moved out properly, got a decent job in IT, rented a small apartment 20 minutes away. I got serious with my girlfriend, later my wife Megan. Life was still tight financially but predictable. Boring, even. Boring felt like a blessing. Emma, on the other hand, developed a new hobby, schemes. Multi-level marketing, coaching programs, dropshipping, manifestation courses, crypto, you name it. Every few months she was convinced she'd found the thing that would make her rich. It's about passive income, she told me once, waving her phone in my face at a family barbecue. You're stuck trading time for money, Dan, that's outdated. You live with Dad and he pays your car insurance, I said. She glared at me, then turned away, popping open another white claw. You're just jealous because you're scared to try something different. I wasn't jealous, just tired. Dad laughed it off. She'll land on her feet, she always does. The thing about people who always land on their feet is that there's usually someone below them, cushioning the fall. In this case, that someone was my father. The last normal holiday was Christmas 3 years ago. Mom had been gone 5 years. Dad's hair had gone almost completely white. He'd lost weight in a way that looked more like illness than fitness. There were bottles of pills lined up like little soldiers on the kitchen counter, but he brushed my questions away. I'm old, not dying, he said. Stop looking at me like I'm going to collapse at any second. Emma showed up late, breezing in with shopping bags and a new haircut, hugging him too hard and pressing kisses all over his cheeks. Daddy, you look so handsome, she cooed. He laughed, delighted. I watched him tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear, the familiar tenderness in his eyes. He never hugged me like that. We had dinner, we opened gifts, it was almost normal. Then, after Megan went to bed and Emma headed out to meet some friends, Dad pulled me aside into the den. He closed the door behind us and suddenly looked older than he ever had in my eyes. Dan, I need to talk to you about something serious, he said. Okay. He took a deep breath. I changed my will again. There it was, the thing I'd been trying not to think about since Mom's funeral. Oh, I said slowly, in what way? You and Emma are both still in it. That hasn't changed, he said quickly, maybe seeing the flash of worry cross my face. It's just the details, the structure. He sat down on the brown leather armchair that had been his throne for as long as I could remember and gestured for me to take the couch. I know you're not greedy, he said. You have your job, your life. You didn't come back here after your mom died with your hand out. You help when I ask, but you don't hover, you don't nag, I see that. I felt a lump in my throat I didn't know what to do with. He hadn't said anything like that to me, maybe ever. With Emma, it's different, he continued carefully. She's never had a stable paycheck. She's impulsive, emotional. That's one word for it, I muttered. He gave me a look. She's my daughter, I'm not going to slag her off, but I'm not blind either. I've seen the overdraft notices. I know how many business ventures you quietly covered for her when I couldn't anymore. I blinked, you know about that. Dan, you think I can't read my own bank statements? Heat rose in my face. I didn't want you to worry. I worry anyway, he said softly. Here's the thing, the house is paid off. There's some savings, my retirement accounts. A small life insurance policy, it's not a fortune but it's something, enough to help both of you if it's handled right. I stayed quiet, I had a feeling where this was going. My lawyer suggested a clause, he said. If either of my children contests the will or tries to meddle with my accounts, that child forfeits their share and everything goes to the other. I stared at him. That's harsh. Harsh is watching your own kid drain your savings because you're too soft to say no, he said, voice suddenly hard. Harsh is dying and leaving behind a war. I'm trying to prevent that. You really think it could get that bad? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, Emma has access to some of my accounts. She knows my passwords. I thought it would help her pay bills for me when I was in the hospital last spring, but sometimes I see charges I don't remember approving. Little ones, 20 here, 50 there, I let it go, but it worries me. Dad, why didn't you tell me? He shrugged, pride, habit, and maybe I hoped she'd grow out of it. Have you talked to her? And start a fight I don't have the energy for, he said. No, instead I'm putting guardrails in place. My lawyer has copies of everything, bank statements, login logs, the works. We've documented that she has access and that I've voiced concerns. If she does something stupid, she'll hang herself with her own rope, not mine. I sat there, the air heavy between us. So what do you want from me? I finally asked. He gave me a long, steady look. I want you to stay honest, he said. With yourself, with me, and eventually with the truth, even if it hurts, even if it makes people hate you. I didn't fully understand what he meant until much later. Dad died 8 months after that conversation. Heart attack, sudden, stupid, cliché. One of those mornings where your phone rings too early and you already know it's bad before you even see the caller ID. It was the hospital. By the time I got there, it was already over. They tried, they said it was quick. He didn't suffer much, as if that made anything better. Emma arrived 40 minutes later, mascara already smeared, shrieking when they told her. She clung to his body, sobbing and begging him to wake up as if sheer drama could resurrect the dead. I stood in the corner and watched my father's chest stay stubbornly still. In the chaos of arranging the funeral, the house, the paperwork, I didn't think much about the will. Not at first. There were too many practical tasks, too many casseroles being dropped off, too many awkward hugs from neighbors. But I did notice that Emma suddenly became very interested in helping with Dad's finances. I'll clear out his stuff from the office, she said. You have work, Megan has work, I'm more flexible. Translated, I don't have a job, I have time to snoop. I didn't argue. Honestly, I was relieved in a twisted way. Let her clear his desk. Let her alphabetize his bills. I'd handle the lawyer and the estate. The lawyer, as it turned out, was an older woman named Patricia Miles. She'd been my parents' attorney for years. Practical, no-nonsense, glasses on a chain around her neck. We'll go through everything step by step, she told me in her office the afternoon after the funeral. No rush, probate takes time. What about Emma? I asked. Do we bring her in for this? Her lips thinned slightly. We will, but I'd like to go over some basics with you first if that's all right. It wasn't exactly subtle, but I didn't push. We went through the assets, the house, the retirement accounts, the savings, the life insurance. Then she pulled a file from her drawer thicker than the rest. This is your father's will, she said, and the amendments he made after your mother passed. She slid it across the desk, tapping a particular section with a red-tipped finger. In particular, this clause, she said. It was the forfeiture clause he'd told me about on that last Christmas. If any beneficiary attempted to contest the will, manipulate accounts, or obscure assets, they'd lose their share. Your father was very firm about this, Patricia said. He was worried. About Emma, I said. She didn't answer directly, but her silence spoke loud enough. She pulled out another folder, thinner, with printed bank statements and notes in my father's handwriting. He documented several instances where money moved in and out of his accounts that he suspected were unauthorized, she said carefully. He gave me permission to pursue those lines if necessary after his death. Something cold settled into my stomach. Are you saying he thought Emma was stealing from him? I asked. I'm saying your father wanted a record of the fact that others had access to his funds just in case questions arose later, she said. I haven't dug deeper yet, I wanted to talk to you first. My instinct was to defend Emma, and I'm not even sure why. She might have just been helping with bills, I said weakly. That's possible, Patricia agreed. It's also possible she made some mistakes. People under pressure do foolish things. And if she did, I asked. Patricia watched me for a long moment. Then we will have to decide how aggressively to deal with those mistakes, she said. The first clear sign that Emma had crossed a line came a week later. I was at the house sorting through Dad's tools in the garage when I heard the front door slam and her voice, high and brittle, on the phone. No, I told you it's fine, she snapped. I'm going to have access to way more money soon. It was just bad timing. Stop threatening to send it to collections, Jesus. I walked into the hallway as she stormed into the kitchen, still on the call. She froze when she saw me, then turned away, lowering her voice. "No, I'm not at my place, I'm at my dad's," she hissed. "Yes, he died, that's why I'm busy, okay? Just give me a couple of weeks." She hung up a moment later and leaned over the kitchen counter, shoulders shaking. "Everything okay?" I asked cautiously. She jumped. "Oh my God, Dan, don't sneak up on people." "I walked," I said. "You're the one yelling into speakerphone." "Whatever," she muttered, then with a quick plastic smile, "Just some stupid bill, they're all vultures." "Collections?" I asked. Her jaw clenched. "It's handled." "Emma." "What?" she snapped, eyes flashing. "Dad is gone," I said quietly. "Until everything is sorted, just don't make any big decisions, okay? Don't promise anyone money, we don't even know what the estate looks like yet." She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Oh please, I know, I've seen his accounts, there's plenty." "You've seen his?" She rolled her eyes. "He gave me the passwords, Dan. I paid bills for him all the time after his surgery. I know what's there, you don't have to play estate manager like some big man, I got this." Something in me flared. "This isn't about being a big man," I said. "This is about not touching anything until the lawyer tells us what's what. There are laws, taxes, probate, you can't just start transferring money around." She scoffed. "You really think Dad wanted the government to get a cut before his own kids can use it? He trusted me. You weren't here half the time. You think he sat in that recliner alone every night? I was the one showing up. I know what he wanted." That last sentence stung more than I care to admit, because there was some truth in it. Still, I said, "Emma, I'm serious, don't move any money at all, until Patricia says we can, please." She crossed her arms, mouth a thin line. "Not everything is your decision," she said. Then she grabbed her bag and headed for the door. "I have stuff to do." The door slammed behind her. I stood in the quiet kitchen, noticing for the first time the drawer by the phone slightly open, a smudge of lipstick on the edge where she'd bumped it. I walked over and pulled it open fully. Inside, neatly stacked, were Dad's checkbooks, some bank statements, and a yellow post-it note with his online banking username and password written in his crooked handwriting. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the drawer and stepped back. At that moment, I made a decision that shaped everything that followed. I didn't touch the note. I didn't change the password. I didn't call the bank that second. I wanted to see what she would do. It didn't take long. A few days later, Patricia called me. "Dan, I've been going over your father's accounts," she said. "There have been some interesting movements in the last week." Cold dread washed through me. "What kind of movements?" "Several transfers out of his main checking account into an account I don't recognize," she said. "The timing is notable." As in, they started 2 days after his death. I closed my eyes. "How much?" I asked. "About 12,000 so far," she said, "in 3 separate transfers, smaller amounts, easier to overlook if one isn't paying close attention." "And you think that's Emma?" I said flatly. "I think we should confirm some facts before I make any accusations," she replied. "Does Emma have login access?" "Yes," I said. "He gave it to her." "Then we have to consider that possibility," Patricia said. "I can contact the bank to flag the account, but I need your authorization as executor. Your father named you, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that yet." My brain snagged on that word, executor. He'd trusted me with this, not Emma, me. "Flag it," I said. "Do whatever you need to stop it, and can we see where the money went?" "Yes," she said. "We can request destination account details. It may take a few days." After I hung up, I sat in my car outside the office for a long time, watching people walk past on the sidewalk, their faces blurred through the dirty windshield. $12,000 in the span of a week. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a little mistake. It was theft. My own sister had stolen from our dead father before we'd even buried him. I should have called her immediately. I should have driven to her apartment and demanded answers. Instead, I did nothing that day. I went home. I told Megan a sanitized version. "There are some weird charges. Patricia is looking into it." And then I lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling, Dad's voice echoing in my head. "I want you to stay honest, even if it hurts." The funeral was quiet, smaller than Mom's. People had already done this once. There's only so much grief a community can muster before it becomes routine. Emma showed up in a black dress that was too tight and heels too high for a cemetery. She clung to my arm as we walked back to the car, squeezing hard enough to hurt. "They're all looking at us," she whispered. "We're orphans now, isn't that weird?" I didn't feel like an orphan. I felt like someone had taken the last piece of scaffolding out from under a building that was already leaning. At the reception back at the house, she floated from group to group, telling stories about Dad, laughing loudly, crying at convenient moments. Everyone told me how strong she was being. Nobody asked how I was doing. That night, after everyone left, I found her in Dad's office, sitting in his chair with her feet on his desk. On the screen was his online banking page. She didn't even jump when I walked in. "Hey," she said, swiveling lazily. "Did you know there's like 20 grand just sitting here? We need to move that before the estate people freeze everything." My heart pounded. "Emma," I said carefully, "have you already moved any of it?" She rolled her eyes. "Calm down, I paid some bills, the house stuff, the power, the internet, the insurance on the car, you're welcome." "The lawyer says $12,000 has been transferred out since he died," I said. "That's not power bills." She shrugged, too casual. "Funeral expenses, and I had to pay off some stuff I bought for him, like when he was in the hospital. It's complicated. Why are you interrogating me like I'm some criminal?" "Because you moved money out of a dead man's account into one we don't recognize, and that is literally illegal," I snapped. Her face twisted. "Wow, okay, cop. What account did you move it to?" I asked. "My own," she shot back. "Where else? I'm the one handling this, you're barely around." You're not even pretending it was for him," I said slowly. "You just took it." "He would have wanted me to be stable," she said, eyes flashing. "He always said that, he didn't want me struggling." "At the expense of the estate," I said, "at the expense of me." "Oh please, you're fine," she scoffed. "You have a job, Megan has a job, you don't need this like I do. Besides, we're getting the house, it's not like I'm taking everything." I stared at her. "The house," I said, "you think we're both getting it?" She faltered then, just for a second. "Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to sell it and split it, right?" "You seemed pretty comfortable acting like it's already yours," I said, "telling debt collectors you'll have way more money soon." Her eyes widened. "You were listening to my private calls now. You were yelling in the kitchen." She stood up, pushing the chair back with a scrape. "You're being an asshole," she said, voice shaking. "I've been here, I've been taking care of him, I brought him groceries, I sat with him during chemo. I cleaned the bathroom when he threw up everywhere. Where were you, at your little desk job, going home to your perfect wife? You don't get to swoop in now and act like the guardian of his legacy." All of that was painfully, partially true. She had been there more physically in those last months, especially after his heart attack scare. I visited, but not enough. There's never enough after someone dies. But none of that justified what she'd done. "I'm not saying you didn't care for him," I said. "I'm saying you can't loot his accounts. There's a process, and there's a clause in his will." I stopped myself. Her eyes narrowed. "What clause?" "Nothing," I said quickly. "We'll talk about it with Patricia." "No," she said. "What clause, Dan?" I met her gaze and decided in that moment not to tell her. "Ask Patricia," I said. "She has all the details. Until then, do not move another cent. I'm serious. The bank has already flagged the account. You keep touching it and you're going to have more problems than just Visa calling you." Her face paled. "You talk to the bank," she whispered. "I'm the executor," I said. "It's my job." "Of course you are," she spat. "He always trusted you more, the reliable one, the favorite." "That's not how it was," I said, but even to my own ears it sounded weak. She laughed a harsh, ugly sound. "You know what? Fine," she said. "You think you're in charge, then you deal with the lawyer, you deal with the bills, I'm done." She slammed the laptop shut, grabbed her bag and stormed out of the room. I watched her go, feeling like I'd just watched a fuse burn down to the dynamite. Over the next few weeks, everything turned into a slow-motion car crash. Patricia confirmed the transfers had gone to an account in Emma's name. She advised that we document everything but not take immediate legal action. "Give her rope," she said. "See what she does with it. The clause in the will covers this behavior, but it will be easier to enforce if we can show a pattern rather than a single impulsive act." "You're telling me to let her keep stealing," I said. I'm telling you to stop any ongoing transfers from the estate which we've done and then wait, she said. Anything she took after his date of death will be counted against her share. Any further manipulation and she triggers the forfeiture clause. She doesn't know about it yet, does she? No, I admitted. Then we observe, Patricia said, document, and when the time comes we show her the consequences of her actions. It felt cruel, calculated. But there was another part of me, dark, hurt, exhausted, that couldn't help thinking, good, let her finally face something she can't charm her way out of. In the meantime, life went on. I went back to work. Megan dragged me to therapy, which I resisted at first but ended up needing more than I realized. Grief crept up in weird ways, standing in the grocery store, seeing Dad's favorite cereal, hearing his laugh in my head when I watched some stupid viral video he would have loved. And Emma spiraled. She started posting on social media about exciting new ventures and big things coming with money bag emojis. She showed up at the house one afternoon in a brand new SUV. You like it? She asked, spinning the keys on her finger. 0 down, low interest, they approved me in like 20 minutes. I stared. How did you qualify? Your credit was trash. She smirked. Let's just say having a little extra in the bank helps. Plus, inheritance is coming. They basically treated that as guaranteed future income. You told them about Dad's estate, I said, horrified, before probate is even done. She shrugged. Why not? I'm getting my share, might as well leverage it. Emma, you have no idea what you're getting, I said. Or when. It could take months, years even if things get complicated. She rolled her eyes. Patricia said it should be straightforward. When did you talk to Patricia? I asked sharply. She called me in, Emma said. Wanted to explain the process. She asked some weird questions about Dad's accounts, but I played dumb. I'm not stupid, Dan. She asked about the transfers, didn't she? Her smile faltered. She was fishing. I didn't admit anything. She can't prove it. She can, I said. The bank can. This isn't some guessing game. She tossed her hair. Whatever, it's not like Dad would want you chasing me with lawyers over a few grand. It's not a few grand anymore, I said, you know that. She shrugged again, but her eyes were nervous. That night, Megan found me sitting at our kitchen table, staring at a spreadsheet Patricia had emailed over, itemizing the estate assets and the questionable withdrawals. Are you okay? Megan asked quietly. I feel like I'm watching a building burn in slow motion, I said, and everyone inside is someone I love. What does Patricia think? She asked. That we stick to the plan, I said bitterly. We let Emma keep making her own choices. We enforce the clause when the time comes and the chips fall where they may. And what do you think? Megan asked. I didn't answer right away. Finally, I said, I think Dad saw this coming, and I think he was right about me having to be honest, even if it makes everyone hate me. Megan put her hand over mine. Being the one who tells the truth always gets you blamed, she said, doesn't mean you're wrong. The big thing Emma was working on turned out to be a boutique online clothing store. Everyone's doing it, she said when I confronted her about the mountain of packages arriving at Dad's house addressed to her new business name. It's dropshipping, low risk. Where are you getting your inventory? I asked, picking up a sequin dress from an open box. I'm buying some pieces in advance to model, she said. You have to show people the clothes on a real body, Dan. That's how influencers make bank. Influencers who already have money, I said, or at least a solid following. She glared at me. You're such a downer. This is why you're stuck in a cubicle. You're using dead Dad's house as your warehouse, I said, and probably his electricity, his internet. I'm the one cleaning it, staging it for sale, keeping it from falling apart, she shot back. You're acting like I'm robbing a stranger. He would have wanted this place to help me start my life. I wanted to scream that helping her start her life did not mean funding her latest half-baked scheme with stolen money, but I bit my tongue. Let her dig, I thought, let her pile weight onto this shaky tower. Patricia and I stayed in close contact. Every new questionable charge, every move Emma made was documented. Legally, we could have hit the nuclear button much earlier, filed a claim against her, dragged her into court right away. But the more she did, the clearer the pattern became, the more undeniable the story. In a twisted way, I was giving her every possible chance to stop, to pull back, to say, okay, this is too far. She never did. The day of the will reading was theatrical almost. Patricia insisted on having both of us present in her office. I think she wanted a formal setting, neutral territory, somewhere we couldn't scream at each other too much. I arrived first. Emma came 10 minutes late, wearing oversized sunglasses like some kind of minor celebrity, even though it was cloudy outside. Sorry, she said breezily, traffic. Patricia didn't bother pretending to believe her. She gestured for us to sit. First of all, my condolences again, she said. Your father was a good man. I worked with him for many years. I know this is a difficult time. Emma sniffed theatrically. I stared at the floor. Today we'll go over the terms of his last will and testament, Patricia continued. I'll read the key sections aloud and then we can discuss any questions you have. She opened the file and began. Most of it was standard. Debts to be paid, funeral expenses, executor named me, personal possessions to be divided as mutually agreed upon between his children. Then she got to the part about the house and the financial assets. Your father's primary residence is to be sold, she read, and the proceeds divided equally between my children, Daniel and Emma, unless one wishes to buy out the other's share, which shall be allowed at fair market value. Emma smiled smugly at that. Knew it, she said under her breath. Patricia continued as if she hadn't spoken. His remaining savings, retirement accounts, and life insurance payouts are likewise to be divided equally between both of you, she said. However. She paused deliberately. However, in the event that any beneficiary is found to have manipulated or misappropriated my funds after my death, or to have deliberately concealed assets or interfered with the fair administration of this estate, that beneficiary shall forfeit their share, which will then be transferred in full to the other. Emma's smile faded. What? She said sharply. It's called a forfeiture clause, Patricia said calmly. Your father was concerned about potential conflict. He wanted to ensure that anyone who acted in bad faith would not be rewarded for it. Emma laughed, but it was brittle. Is that normal? She asked. That sounds illegal. It is perfectly legal, Patricia said. I discussed its implications with him at length. He was quite clear. This is ridiculous, Emma said. Dad would never cut one of us out like that. Actually, Patricia said gently, he explicitly wanted that option. He said, she glanced at me, then continued, he said he loved you both, but that love did not mean he would ignore wrongdoing. Emma looked at me, eyes blazing. You knew about this, she accused. You knew and you didn't tell me. I found out at Christmas, I said quietly. He told me he'd updated his will. And you just kept that to yourself, she snapped. You let me think. She stopped, realizing in the same moment I did that she was about to say too much. Patricia folded her hands. Emma, she said, this is why I asked you here. There have been some concerns about certain transactions from your father's accounts in the days following his death. Emma went very still. What concerns? She asked. Patricia slid a stack of printed bank statements across the table. These transfers, she said, tapping them, from your father's checking account to an account in your name beginning 2 days after his date of death. Emma didn't look down, she stared straight ahead. I paid bills, she said, for the house, for the funeral. Dan knows that. I know you said that, I said, but the amounts, they don't line up. They can't prove what I spent what on, she said loudly, looking at Patricia. You can't just accuse me of. Nobody is accusing you, Patricia interrupted, though her voice had a hard edge now. I'm asking you to explain. As executor, Daniel is responsible for accounting for every dollar. The court may ask the same questions I am. Emma's chest rose and fell quickly. It was my dad's money, she muttered. I was just taking what was going to be mine anyway. And that is exactly the behavior this clause was designed for, Patricia said quietly. Silence settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Finally, Emma slammed her palms on the table. You know what, this is bullshit, she snapped. You're both ganging up on me. You knew about this clause and you set me up. You wanted me to fail. I felt something inside me snap. Set you up? I repeated. Emma, nobody forced you to log into his account 2 days after he died and move $12,000 into your personal checking. I was grieving, she shouted, eyes wild. I wasn't thinking straight. Grief doesn't accidentally type account numbers, I said. Grief doesn't buy brand new SUVs and inventory for fake clothing lines. Her cheeks flushed a mottled red. You were supposed to be my brother, she said. You're supposed to protect me, not. From what? I cut in. From consequences, from reality. That's what Dad did for you your whole life, and it killed him inside. He was scared this exact thing would happen. That's why he wrote that clause. This isn't about me setting you up. This is about you proving him right. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Dan, Patricia said quietly, let's all take a breath. No, Emma said, voice shaking. Let him talk. Let him explain how this was all my fault and he's the hero who gets everything. I don't want everything, I said. I wanted you not to steal from him. You did, she said. You wanted this. You and your precious lawyer. You could have told me about the clause. You could have changed the password. You let me do it, and now you're going to use it against me. Her words hit like a punch because of how close they were to the truth. I had let her. I had watched the rope play out. Emma, I said, my voice suddenly rough. If I had told you, would you really have done anything differently, or would you have tried to find a way around it? She hesitated just a fraction of a second, long enough. Patricia cleared her throat. I think we all need to understand something, she said. The law doesn't care about your childhood dynamics or who brought who groceries. It cares about facts. The facts are your father died on April 3rd. Starting April 5th, multiple transfers were made from his account to yours. You did not have legal authority to move those funds after his death. That is misappropriation. The clause in the will allows the executor to petition the court to enforce forfeiture of your share if this is not remedied. What does remedied mean? Emma whispered. It means, Patricia said slowly, that if you return every cent you transferred with documentation and agree in writing to cease any use of his accounts, we can argue that you acted impulsively and corrected your mistake. The court might accept that. Your brother might accept that. Emma's eyes darted to me. For the first time, she looked truly scared. And if I do, she asked. Then we proceed with the petition, Patricia said. And there is a very real chance you will be disinherited, completely. The room went quiet again. I watched Emma's face cycle through anger, fear, defiance, something like shame. It was like watching storm clouds flicker with lightning. Finally she laughed, a broken, bitter sound. I can't give it back, she said, it's gone. My stomach dropped. What do you mean gone? I asked. I used it, she said, paying off old cards, putting a down payment on inventory, paying my coach, my car. Her voice trailed off. I thought more was coming, I thought, she shut her eyes. I thought it didn't matter, it was going to be mine anyway. Patricia sighed, removing her glasses. I'm sorry, she said softly, but in that case I don't see how we avoid enforcing the clause. Emma surged to her feet. You can't do this, she snarled, jabbing a finger at me. You can't take everything, I'll fight you, I'll get my own lawyer. You can, Patricia said. That is your right, but I will tell you now, any lawyer you hire will tell you the same thing I just did. The paper trail is very clear. Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks, streaking her makeup. I hate you, she whispered at me. You ruined my life. She grabbed her bag and stormed out, the door slamming so hard a picture on the wall rattled. For a long moment I just sat there, staring at the empty chair where she'd been. Patricia let out a long breath. This is going to be messy, she said. Are you sure you want to go through with it? You could choose to overlook the clause. You're the executor. The court would likely accept your recommendation to split things equally despite her actions. I knew she was giving me an out, a way to keep the peace, to be the bigger person. I thought about it, I really did. I thought about all the times I'd bylaid Emma out, the late-night Venmo transfers, the calls to landlords asking for extensions, the lies to Dad about why his card had been declined. I thought about Dad's tired eyes on that last Christmas, his hand shaking slightly as he poured bourbon, telling me he wanted me to be honest, even if it hurt. I thought about the $12,000 moved out of his account 2 days after he died. And then I thought about something else, the phone call I'd overheard, the debt collector threatening collections, the new SUV, the boutique clothing line with packages piling up like a hollow empire. If I let this slide, what then? Emma would see it as proof that she could do anything, take anything, and someone Dad than me would fix it. She would keep ruining herself over and over, and she'd drag everyone around her down with her. I didn't ruin her life, I said quietly. She did. Patricia watched me, not saying anything. I'm enforcing the clause, I said. File whatever you need to file. She nodded once. All right. The fallout was ugly. Emma hired a lawyer as she'd threatened, but fired him after 2 weeks when he told her Patricia was right about the legal realities. She then spent months making vague posts on Facebook about toxic family and snakes in the grass, clearly referring to me. She told relatives I'd manipulated Dad into writing her out of the will, that I'd tricked her by not telling her about the clause. Some believed her, or at least pretended to, others stayed neutral. A few quietly reached out to me, saying they understood why I'd done it, but family is family and they didn't want to get involved. Her car got repossessed 3 months later. She posted about that too, blaming predatory lenders, never mentioning that she'd built her house of cards on stolen money and imagined future inheritance. Her boutique store limped along for a while, then vanished. The Instagram went quiet. The website stopped loading. The last story she posted was a screenshot of her Stripe account, some meager income from a few sales, captioned "Haters don't know the grind." Whenever a new number called my phone from an unknown area code, I half expected it to be a collection agency looking for her, somehow dragging me into her mess. So far, it hasn't happened. Legally, the process took time. It always does. Probate isn't fast even in simple cases, and ours wasn't simple. But in the end, the court sided with the paper trail, the clause was enforced, Emma was disinherited. Everything, Dad's half-paid-off house, the savings, the retirement accounts, the life insurance, came to me. On paper, I won. In real life, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like standing alone in an empty house that smelled like dust and old coffee, holding a set of keys that suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. The last time Emma and I spoke in person was about 6 months after the court decision. She asked to meet somewhere neutral. We ended up at a dingy coffee shop off the highway, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and a chalkboard menu that hadn't been updated in years. She was thinner, her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, roots grown out. She looked tired in a way that went beyond just not getting enough sleep. She didn't bother with small talk. "You satisfied?" she asked, wrapping her hands around a chipped mug of coffee. "You got everything, Dad's money, the house, the moral high ground." "It doesn't feel like everything," I said. "It feels like what Dad wanted to happen if someone fucked up," she finished. "Just say it." I sighed. "If someone stole from him." She flinched at the word. "I borrowed," she said weakly. "I would have paid it back eventually." "You admitted you couldn't," I reminded her gently. "At Patricia's office." She stared down at the table. "I thought something would come through," she said. "A big break, the business taking off, something. That's how it always worked before. I'd mess up and then somehow it would work out, because you or Dad or someone would fix it." "I know," I said. "That was the problem." She glared at me. "So this was some tough love lesson? You let me destroy my credit and lose my car and get humiliated in court so I could, what? Evolve." "It wasn't about teaching you a lesson," I said quietly. "It was about respecting Dad's wishes and protecting the estate, and yeah, maybe finally not covering for you." "You could have just split it anyway," she snapped. "You had the power, Patricia said so, you made a choice to let the worst possible outcome happen, don't hide behind Dad." "I made a choice," I agreed, "to stop being the safety net, to stop lying to myself about who you are." She laughed harshly. "And who am I?" she demanded. "Tell me, since you seem to know everything." I looked at her, really looked at her. My little sister, who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms when she was 6, clutching her stuffed rabbit. The teenager who cried for a week when a boy dumped her and I threatened to break his nose if he came near her again. The young woman who held Mom's hand while she puked from chemo. "You're someone who's been given a lot of chances," I said slowly. "More than most people get, and every time instead of building something solid you chase the next shortcut, the next easy win, the next person you can convince to bail you out. You're smart, Em, you're capable, but you've spent your whole life weaponizing other people's love instead of building your own life." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's rich," she whispered, "coming from the guy whose life is a cubicle and a mortgage." "Maybe," I said, "but at least when I screw up it's on my dime." She looked away, biting her lip. For a moment I thought she might say sorry or something close to it. Not for the money, maybe, but for the way she'd blamed me, painted me as the villain in her story. Instead, she said, "Dad would be disgusted with you." I swallowed. "Dad wrote that clause," I said softly. "If you're angry at anyone, be angry at him. He saw this coming, I just didn't stop it." She stood up, chair scraping. "I don't want another cent from you," she said, voice trembling. "Ever keep your blood money, I hope it keeps you warm." "Emma." "No," she said, "we're done." She walked out without looking back. I watched her go, her shoulders stiff, her jaw set. The bell over the door jingled cheerfully as it closed behind her. And just like that, I had lost my sister. Sometimes, late at night, I lie awake next to Megan, listening to her breathe, and my brain replays everything like a movie I can't pause. The conversation with Dad, the bank statements, the look on Emma's face when Patricia read the clause, the way her voice broke when she said, "You set me up." I ask myself if I could have done something different. I could have told her about the clause the minute I found out, changed the passwords, babysat the accounts, shielded her from her own worst impulses one more time. Maybe she wouldn't have taken the money. Maybe we would have split everything quietly, resentment smoldering but not exploding. Maybe we'd still have some kind of relationship. Or maybe she would have found a different way to make the same choices, to take what she felt entitled to, consequences be damned. I don't know. What I do know is this: the first time someone shows you who they are, it's a shock. The 10th time, it's a pattern. By the time you're staring at bank statements with $12,000 missing from a dead man's account, it's a decision. Emma decided over and over that her immediate comfort mattered more than anyone else's boundaries, more than my trust, more than Dad's last wishes. I decided once that I wouldn't protect her from that truth anymore. We're both living with the consequences. These days, the inheritance is mostly boring. I sold Dad's house like the will said. Megan and I paid off our smaller debts. We put a chunk into savings, another into an index fund my financial advisor recommended. We upgraded our ancient car, but nothing flashy. I bought a decent set of tools and a good lawnmower for our own house, and sometimes when I'm trimming the grass I think of Dad and it hits me all over again that he's gone. There are no sports cars in my driveway, no luxury vacations, just a little more breathing room at the end of each month, a little less panic when the water heater makes a strange noise. That's the unglamorous truth about most inheritances: they don't turn you into a millionaire, they just make the everyday grind slightly less sharp. Sometimes I drive past the old house out of habit. The new owners painted it blue and took down the wind chimes Mom loved. They put in a swing set in the backyard. Life moved on without us, as it tends to. I don't know exactly where Emma lives now. Last I heard, she was sharing an apartment with 2 roommates in a cheaper part of town, working a retail job she hates. Our contact is limited to the occasional group text from a relative, her name appearing in the thread like a ghost. I still worry about her, I still love her. That's the messed up thing about family: love doesn't evaporate just because trust does. If she called me tomorrow and said, "I'm in rehab," or "I'm finally seeing a therapist," or even just, "I'm trying to get my life together," I'd help her. Not with money, not with blank checks or bailouts, but with rides to appointments, with a couch to sleep on for a night, with listening when she actually wanted advice instead of validation. So far, that call hasn't come. Instead, I hear about her shifting blame, telling anyone who will listen that I stole her inheritance, that I let her lose everything. Maybe this post is my way of telling my side, or maybe it's just me shouting into the void, trying to make sense of how we got here. Either way, hear what I've learned. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is stop saving them. Sometimes letting them ruin themselves isn't revenge, it's just refusing to go down with them. And sometimes honoring a dead man's wishes means becoming the villain in a living person's story. I don't know if I did the right thing in every moment. I don't know if Dad would be proud of how it all played out. But I do know this: the day I chose to tell the truth about the money, about the clause, about the pattern, was the day I stopped lying to myself about who my sister is and who I am. It cost me my relationship with her. It gave me a different kind of inheritance, the burden of being the one who finally said no. It's heavier than any house deed or bank account, but at least I know it's mine.